you, I would like to call Dr. Kelly. The floor is yours, Doc. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Dr. A very good afternoon to all participants. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Associate Prof. T.S. Dr. Nurhizam and Faculty of Information Science and Technology, and not forgetting UKM as well as the participant today. Since the topic is about digital banking in Malaysia, I think it is the right time now to discuss about the prospects and the challenges with the current digital banking that will be soon be introduced in Malaysia against those traditional banks. So let me begin by probably introducing INFOPRO, corporate intro. Let me just share the screen.
Great, wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much. And let me run through the agenda today. I will share with you today a very high level of corporate intro. I will touch on a little bit on digital banking solution from INFOPRO. This is very relevant to what we're going to discuss today in the session later when we have some of the questions that will be posed with regards to digital banking. Okay, INFOPRO as a company, we have been established since 1987. In fact, this month we have actually celebrated the 34 years in business. In fact, our company, our customers, we have about 100 customers globally as a global digital banking solution provider across 32 countries. We have remained 100% successful track records over our projects, and we never fail projects. In terms of financial strength, we are a solid company with 100% profitability. In fact, we sailed through even this COVID-19 that we have gone through the crisis last year and the ongoing crisis now. We have invested over $86 million US in R&D. We believe in R&D, and that's where we will put a lot of emphasis and focus on artificial intelligence as being incorporated into some of our solutions that they have developed by our company. We have about 300 staff. I can say about 50% coming from bankers. This is where we have the know-how and know-do in terms of the solutions that we provide to the banks. In terms of certification, as a company, we put a lot of emphasis, and we are a company which is certified by MSc and TÜV from Germany. As a software company, we are the only company in Malaysia with CMMI level 5 appraised. This is from US, actually CMMI Institute. We have been reappraised in year 2019, and we are humbly honored to be reappraised the third time, being the only company in Malaysia with this CMMI level 5. And we are definitely ISO 9001 certified for over 20 years. We have won multiple award recognition, and our CEO is Mr. Chua. In fact, he's at the center receiving award from the Ministry of International Trade and Industry. We have won multiple awards from technology partners like Oracle, and we also won Best IT Product of the Year in Malaysia 12. But what I would like to share is recently we have won our latest award globally, and that's where we're putting ourselves in the map globally. We won Banking Tech Award under the category of Best Core Banking Solution Provider last year. In fact, it was announced 2 months ago by FinTech Futures. This is a global award. Secondly, we have won actually 2 months ago Global Asia Awards in terms of Best Practice in IT 2020. This is by PCOM. And for a Malaysian company, we are quite proud that we have won Best Islamic Financial Software Provider 2019. This is a World Islamic FinTech Award against all the global players in the Middle East and also in the Europe. This is by Islamic Finance News. As mentioned just now, our global footprint, we have 100 banks and financial institutions across 32 countries. We have office in Malaysia as our HQ. We have China, we have subsidiaries in Singapore and in UAE to support our customers and banks across the worldwide. In terms of solutions, this is where I will discuss later together with Prof. Nurhizam in regards to the digital banking. We have the full suites of solution model from a full commercial banking to retail banking, corporate banking, Islamic banking. Challenger Bank is actually a digital bank where you heard a lot about fintechs. Investment bank, non-bank digital lenders, and we are into the automotive financing as well. In terms of product-wise, we have core banking, digital products. We focus a lot emphasis on the regulation from the central bank, which is we have a solution on risk and compliance, and as well as analytics. This is where we put a lot of emphasis on AI. What we are trying to achieve at the end of the day is an AI-driven digital banking solution to all the banks across the world. In terms of a framework of full digital banking, we have a full suites from the front office top layer, where the digital channel, from covering from the agents of the banks, the bank itself, and also the customers. The main core banking plays a big part, where it's the back end of the whole solutions. This is where we also focus risk and compliance, when I mentioned just now, and analytics. This is where later I'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. How does it being incorporated in some of these solutions? In a nutshell, basically, we cut across and align to the Industry 4.0 revolutions, whereby a lot of the developed countries are already matured on this, and we in Asia are trying to pick up and to move fast to reach to such development in terms of Industry 4.0. In terms of product, when I mentioned just now, we put a lot of emphasis. At the end of the day, what we want to achieve is an AI-driven digital banking platform. It covers from the web applications, fintech, in terms of the ecosystems. We are trying to do sandboxing to integrate with any third parties to be more open to integration to third-party systems. This is to allow and enable our systems to be more having more open banking concepts without compromising in terms of a core banking applications. We are also incorporating AI into most of our banking solution. This is just to give you a very high level where it comes to consumer segment. We focus emphasis in terms of our digital retail banking, in terms of our customers' experience. Some of the key features we are incorporating is basically in terms of smart financial management, where you have the robo-advisory to be able to share in terms of getting the customers' spending insights, whereby you can manage their spending in terms of some of the money that excess money that they have, they can do a proper in terms of their investment. I will talk a little bit in terms of eKYC as well. And also the most important in terms of digital retail banking is the customer engagement through the apps. That's where we put focus in terms of our UI, UX. From business perspective, we talk about digital corporate banking. This is where we provide businesses, companies, SMEs companies in terms of the insights of the financial of doing business, and we are providing a single view of access to the SMEs to be able to analyze some of the performance in terms of performance of their services. This is where I'll talk about digital onboarding, where basically it enables customers easy access to be able to do loan processing themselves remotely, whereby it involves eKYC. In fact, Bank Negara announced last year, whereby eKYC is coming into the picture to most of the banks and financial institutions to allow customers to do onboarding themselves. Then you can upload documentations and provide digital signatures. So everything is based on digitalization. It's very seamless and it integrates back to the back end, whereby it will connect to the credit bureau for any screening in terms of blacklist, if the customers are whether in the category of whitelist or blacklist. I will show you a little bit how this eKYC process will work, whereby let me just show you the video.
Okay.
Whereby basically you take the snapshots of your IC from the front and back, whereby it will capture the IC and you populate the information through the e-form, and they will do a liveness test in terms of the points of the facial to ensure that there is no fraud. This is a genuine person. That this process, eKYC, will actually fast track in terms of loan processing. This will enable, in terms of banks, to be able to have an instant approval for their customers. So that is the purpose of having this eKYC. In a nutshell, we will discuss more in terms of the digital banking part, where this digital onboarding comes in, which will have a simplification and a faster way of processing loan. I'll give some case studies as well. Okay, thank you so much. And for participants today, I'd like to thank you all for this session, whereby later I'll pass it on to Dr. Nurhizam to discuss more in terms of some of the challenges and prospects of digital banking. But please do, we would like to invite, for those who are interested for any job position, please write to us. We are currently expanding our portfolio, and also we are doing a lot of AI development, a lot of technology incorporating into for IR, and this is where we hope that you can send it through email to us. And you can also visit our websites to have more information, or you can write to us, which we can always give an insights about some of this digital banking solution. Thank you, Prof. I'll pass it on to you now.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Kelly, on the insights or information about the advancements of digital technology in Malaysian banking institution. Looks that we are really, I would say, far ahead on that. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
I will give you the first question.
Yes.
We knew that maybe recently our Bank Negara Malaysia is going to issue 5 digital banking licenses. I believe that most of the banking institution would like to apply for that specific licenses. Why basically we the Malaysian banking try to invest in this digital technologies such as you are mentioned about the AI-driven banking, digital wallet, cashless EFT, as mentioned as well in our Malaysian digital economy blueprint. What do you think about why actually are they going to maybe, as I mentioned, get the market or whatever? What is your opinion on that? Okay, Kelly, please.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Regards to this, this is nothing new. In fact, a lot of Malaysians bank, the bigger banks, I call it, they have actually thought of digital banking solutions incorporating into their business. But in recent years, I noticed that Malaysian banks have stepped up their investment in terms of their digital capabilities. This is to respond to the increasing customer demand, especially with this COVID-19. It's actually accelerating a lot more consumers to online access and the availability in terms of getting the banking services to be done through digitally. And such technology that involve definitely like what I mentioned just now, regards to artificial intelligence, regards to big data, cloud, this is more and they are making it more open in terms of but not compromising in terms of the compliance to the central bank. So like what I mentioned, COVID-19 actually has accelerated the reason why bank should consider the adoptions of these new digital technologies. For example, traditionally, opening up a bank account would require visiting an actual bank. I myself personally do not need to actually go to the actual bank branches now. In fact, I'm quite a conservative person. But with this COVID-19, it has driven myself using mobile banking, internet banking. And that shows that, some of these, you do not need to go to the bank branches to do banking transactions. As you know, these lockdowns are actually forcing a lot more consumers not going into these brick and mortar banks to do banking transactions. However, digital bank, what I notice is that digital banks, they have their advantage, definitely. Some of these banks has a hybrid, I call it. They have digital banking solution. In fact, with the new startup of this new digital bank, which don't have physical presence, they may be quite challenging. They may be quite attractive in terms of their business of services offering for doing financial, especially when they do not require investment in terms of branches, offices. In fact, this will reduce drastically in terms of costs. So they will definitely pose a big threat to some of these traditional banks. Obviously, most of their concepts are about digitalization. They will involve digital documents, whereby still a lot of people are still hesitant because of they are a little bit worried about fraud. However, I think in due times, when we put a lot of focus, especially in terms of cybersecurity, and the government has emphasized in terms of putting a lot of focus in terms of security, this will actually help to a lot of these banks, digital startup banks, to be able to be very competitive against these traditional banks. In fact, if you look at the traditional bank, they are quite high demanding in terms of selections of customers. They will put a lot of emphasis in terms of their source of finance when it comes to SMEs and business owners. This will actually not helping the SMEs. They are quite selective. The traditional banks are quite selective in terms of looking at the SMEs companies in terms of their finances. But with this digital bank that is coming in, they are providing actually a means in terms of allowing these SMEs and businesses to be able to open their, getting some of these funds in terms from the digital banks to be able to help them lead their businesses and then provide economic benefits. Okay, but when I talk about digital technologies, that's where it's actually about ADC in terms of artificial intelligence. If you look at artificial intelligence, the advantage for artificial intelligence in terms of security, whereby it is being to help us to analyze all the activities of the clients, even though we consider sometimes this is a breach, but however, the banking algorithm can help the digital bank to spot some unusual spending patterns and eliminating false positive detection, especially automating it through the anti-money laundering, especially to do a fast in terms of the blacklisting of some of the customers. So this AI has actually brought advantage, and you will see a lot of these digital banks are going to incorporate this technology. Secondly, it's about big data. Big data is also important. Reason being, I said big data is important because of the data points. Some of these digital banks, which has a lot of data, access to data points, they will be used in terms of analyzing some of the consumers in terms of the behavior, which will give the insights to the bank in terms of buying patterns, their spending patterns. This can help actually a lot of these digital banks to provide products or services which is relevant to some of these customers. And C is actually cloud computing. You hear a lot of cloud. Everybody's talking about cloud, whereby the access to cloud is easily available nowadays. In fact, a lot of this is actually helping a lot of consumers to be able, some of this from the digital banking standpoint, cloud computing is being used to allow a process of transaction and performing some of these banking related services in an efficient manner. So with the cloud emphasis, it also driving down some cost of investment for some of the banks if they incorporate their infrastructure through adopting the cloud computing infrastructure. So over the last 2 decades, we have seen digital technology by itself has evolved and has been transformed the whole business in terms of financial services sectors. Similarly, it also impacts other industries, for instance, like retail and media. Traditionally, for banks, technology, they support and enable products and provide customer strategies. However, just now when I mentioned about some of these case studies, we foresee that with this investment that is taking place, and Malaysia are forefronting to push digital banking as the soon startup digital banks, whereby it will help in terms of fundamentally banking serving the benefit of the wider population here, especially those B40, the bottom 40% of income group, and also the micro and SMEs segment where banking is most needed. Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, by the way, we are talking about all these buzzwords, AI, EFT, digital wallet, a kind of that. Maybe from a layman term, maybe people who are not really aware of this technology, jargons, terminology. Primitively, I would like maybe if you can define what is digital. Define digital for a Malaysian banking. How do we define them? Maybe, for our aunties, our makcik, our uncle outside there. This is actually when we are doing, for example, online. Otherwise, maybe their kids is using that. This is digital. What actually, Kelly, do you see how we like to make it possible for people outside there to aware what is a digital in banking institution is all about? Okay, over to you, sir.
Okay, sure. I think in terms of the digital technologies, when I mentioned just now, all these buzzword of AI, big data, cloud, obviously it's actually it's a modern age of technology. Okay? It was brought extensively. It's being used extensively with this development and also with this fourth industrial revolution through digital transformation. A lot of these industries are basically, in a layman term, actually is that this is actually to help in terms of basically using technology to be able to drive efficiency in terms of customers, to be able to access some of these or allowing them to do some of this from the standpoint of financial sectors as per se, is to actually drive them to do banking transaction remotely themselves. And this is the speed of adoptions of these new digital technologies and acquisitions of users. Recently, we've seen that it's accelerating significantly. Okay, major change are disrupting, especially as the digital disruptions are actually disrupting a lot of businesses, especially those who are lagging will be those who are using the legacy obsolete systems, technologies. So digital technologies, why is it being adopted? These digital technologies, because it will help to accelerate better customer experience. That is the purpose, the reason for in terms of the services sectors concerned. Especially, we are providing a simpler way, a faster way, and a flexible way for some of these customers to do banking transaction. Digital technologies itself improve in terms of operational efficiencies, and it also helps in terms of cost reduction themselves through resource optimization. And in Asia and Africa, to be honest, technological leapfrogging has extended banking services to previously unbanked segment of the population. Banking moving towards customer-centric platform. So digitalization has played a key role, especially for those incumbent. They need to be structured their business model through digitalization and digital transformation. Yes. So basically, in terms of digital disruption, which offers the potential to improve efficiency with innovations, enhance supply diversity, to give more competitive financial systems that provide market extensions, and also augmenting financial inclusion. This disruption actually provide pressures in terms of or margin of incumbent, and also leading to increased risk taking, and will start a competition in terms of to capture investors. Okay. So in a nutshell, actually, some of the digital banks, challenger banks that you will hear in the past from the Europe are quite forefronting in terms of their challenger banks. They actually started a long time ago. Atom Bank, for example, Monzo, Starling Bank, N26, and we also heard a lot from Revolut. In fact, big technology is also going into the banking sectors itself. These large technology companies such as Apple, Amazon, and Ant Financial, a lot about them. Wow. They are also slowly moving into these financial sectors because they are the technology companies, and they have all these capabilities. So people are definitely moving away, and some of these giant companies are taking the pie of the in the financial sectors, and you can see more tractions coming from large big tech, especially around the world. This will allow them with digital bank itself, with this big tech that's coming in, it will give so-called a fair competition, allowing customers to have the choice. There will be more options for the customers, in fact, to do banking transaction or to engage in any financial banks, traditionally or through the new digital banks, startups, whichever that can give the best benefit to the customers. That will be the next area of the financial sectors. Thanks, Prof.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the explanation about the digital definition. Maybe if my student is out there, probably you can scribble down about the definition per se. Okay, my next question. You are talking about the conventional banks versus the digital banking institution. Maybe moving from the conventional to the digital banking, and some of the banks in Europe are moving forward on this. How is actually those banks, basically in Malaysia, as I mentioned, we have big bank, maybe a small bank, for example, facing these new digital fierce competition in these disruptive technologies, maybe probably on the user interface, customer experience and satisfaction. How actually they are maybe competing to each other, or maybe, oh, you come to my bank, I give this offer. Hey, my bank also we give some discount. I don't know, point view bonus. Sorry, something of a kind of mention about all this. So, what was your opinion about how they face this competition among them?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. To answer that, actually, we know the digital bank, right? As we know, compared to traditional bank,
Okay.
Their focus is actually to provide more user-oriented experience. Okay. These new digital competitors, in terms of with their disruptive technology, they are definitely posing a big threat to the traditional bank. But why is it? Why haven't traditional banks also use a user-oriented approach to their services? The main reason is the most traditional bank, they used to be monopoly in terms of the economic situation. Most of these big players in the financial or banking industry have access to a near endless amount of capital. But in the past, this made it almost impossible for new banks or financial services to compete, to get access into such a large amount of capital. Consumers essentially had very few options when it comes to choosing the right bank. But with digital banks, they are giving them a run for it. Okay? This meant that banks needs to improve their services, become more user-oriented, those traditional banks, basically. So to attract more consumers to come to them. Okay? For many people, especially these new entrepreneurs, this meant opening a business account or loan, especially like what I mentioned just now. Some of these traditional banks, they are very selective. So in terms of providing loans or fund for the SME businesses. So basically banks got no choice. In order to compete with digital banks, they themselves need to evolve themselves. How banks are doing it? Basically, banks are responding this digital threat in a few ways. One of it is actually competition with these digital banks. Those in these groups are usually the best form is actually to defend their turf, okay? To ensure that they do attack strategy in terms of the against the digital banks. Bank with the most advanced digital strategies, for example, give you example, instance like DBS in Singapore. They have launched their own digital banks. They are going against those digital banks by having digital banks themselves to enter those new market. This is also part of their strategy to defend their turf. For example, another classical, actually Goldman Sachs, they have also launched many years ago in terms of a consumer digital savings and lending operation. This was named as Marcus. Marcus is actually Goldman's 19th century founder. Okay. Marcus was then launched in UK. That was their first international expansion, offering highest interest rate in the country to entice savers. Last year itself, they released a long-awaited apps to help to improve their customers' experience journey for Marcus of the consumer bank. Another example is also Dutch Bank, ING, which adopted similar approach as well. They also do the attack strategy by launching Yolt, another digital bank, which collate all their informations in one single place. This is to track their spendings and savings of the customers, and also to help them save money on some of the utility bill services. So Yolt itself is also basically INGs themselves also launching digital banks themselves. In late 2019, if you know Bank Santander from Spain, they have also launched a 100% owned digital bank with innovation known as Open Bank. They have actually incorporated artificial intelligence and machine learning technology in terms of to improve the services. The other way is actually to respond through acquisition. Bank can do through acquisition. Because of the hampered by vast cost and complexity of maintaining this old system for these traditional banks, sometimes they find it easier to buy or invest in startups banks rather than build the digital platform from scratch. One example is actually Spain. in Spain, BBVA. They acquire a string of digital startups banks. For instance, in 2014, Simple in the US, Atom Bank in UK in 2015, Holvi in Finland 2016, Solaris Bank in Germany. In fact, they had actually go through Propel Venture Partners to acquire, providing a capital fund to invest in some of these fintechs and digital banks around the world. Thirdly, is actually in terms of collaborations or partnership. This is another way where banks always complain on an uneven playing field that allows this big technology group to offer financial services without burdensome regulation that traditional lenders are facing. However, they have not stopped some banks teaming up with big tech groups. So, for instance, in Asia, Standard Chartered Bank has teamed up with China's Alipay to launch a digital remittance service to send money across borders quickly and cheaply. So this is the third factors that banks should considering the new adoptions of this digitalization. Fourthly is actually market diversification. Okay. While their core payments and lending businesses may be under pressure from their digital competitors, some banks are using new technologies to move into these new markets. For instance, Royal Bank of Canada, the biggest Canadian bank, has also provided a broader platform offering diverse services with partnership. They are using partnership as well. And also, they provide a platform which offers a lot more services, not just only on financial services, lifestyle services. One of the app is called Nextdoor, neighborhood app, just recently launched, I think 2-3 months ago, in terms of to connect communities and support all local businesses across Canada during this COVID-19. In fact, this is to help to revitalize local businesses by connecting their community members who likes to shop, dine, and use some of these services offered by them. Other banks, banks like Barclays, they offers to store
Barclays,
documents.
UK.
Yeah, UK. They offers important documents such as for the customer to store on through their Barclays Cloud It. This is they are designing it to entice their customers to provide secure document storage to their customers. So they are moving out from the normal practice of financial services, and they are recapitalizing their technology services to entice and to give a good customer journey for some of their customers. The other bank, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, they in fact promote a lot in terms of enticing their customers in terms of from the SME business to utilize, they give them a full access to utilize their tools for big data analytics platform. This will give business insights on some of the spending habits of their customers, which will help SME business to the access of billions of monthly transaction records that link to all these bank accounts, point of sales information, and many other data feeds. These are helping, these tools are actually helping their businesses to understand through their tools, to understand in terms of business insights, where are the areas to target some of the segment or the customers. Finally, banks need to remodel their business as well. Some of these banks sometimes that the threat from digital competition is so great that they need to amend their business model through launching new services. For example, Spain, Banco Santander is the first international bank that launched cross-border payment systems through blockchain service for bank customers. The other bank, Switzerland's, this is a wealth manager, UBS, recently launched hybrid digital platform service as part of remodeling their business to allow clients to customize their portfolios of investment digitally with the assistance of human advisors. The system is actually called It's My Way, has attracted Swiss domestic clients the use of online services with the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, allowing them, in fact, they are very successful at allowing them to reach a year ahead of target as late of last year. In summary, these banks come with a huge amount of advantage in comparison to traditional banks, and traditional banks has no choice but to keep up, to find ways and means to digitalize themselves. They can simply do things that normal banks can't, as digital banks tends to be more flexible, filling in gaps in the market, leveraging new technologies like what I mentioned just now, AI, big data, cloud, the ABC, such as cloud computing can scale and secure their businesses. So in turn, they have been able to compete and even pose a threat to the giants, traditional banks, big banks, the big boys I call it, in the market.
Oh, thank you very much, Kelly, on the explanation. Meaning to say as well, there's a survival for the fittest as well in the banking institution.
For sure.
Okay, I received some questions. Yeah, sure, Kelly. I received a few very good questions for us or for you to answer. So, one of it is a question from the floor. What is your opinion on the money laundering, which is using the blockchain technology as their tools to implement, maybe I would say that illegal activities? Your opinion, the usage of blockchain technology for the money laundering activities. Okay, over to you.
I think the blockchain technology is obviously technology. In fact, if you look at blockchain technology in Malaysia, it's a bit kind of slow. However, I foresee that government is pushing it, especially with MDEC initiative that is pushing a lot of this blockchain as how they did successfully in terms of big data in the past years, over early of the years. And recently they have announced that pushing a lot on blockchain technologies. This will definitely drive the usage of blockchain for many, many purposes. It's not just only anti-money laundering. Anti-money laundering is part of from the financial sectors. But in China itself, blockchain technology has been widely used. Okay? And this is actually because they have a very strong ecosystem. You need to have the whole ecosystem in order to have a successful blockchain technologies usage by companies or firms surrounding the whole ecosystems. So in Malaysia, for anti-money laundering, I see that obviously it's very, very good and very secure. I think the reason is for security. That is the main purpose, main objective. But with these blockchain technologies, if we have incorporated it into the anti-money laundering service, we can foresee with the central bank pushing the whole regulation and compliance to be able to allow the use of blockchain as part of the whole development of anti-money laundering. I foresee that it will definitely will give a very secure platform, a reliable platform in terms of executing it in Malaysia in the context.
Wow, okay. So meaning to say that we cannot abuse the usage of this blockchain as for their illegal activities. I would
Correct.
Say
you need to have a proper...
Yeah. Okay. We received another question from a UITM lecturer. Okay, Dr. Kelly. Sure. What is basically the biggest costing or expenses in digitalized banking operation? Maybe you as aware of that. The biggest cost and expenses in operating the digitalized of the banking mechanism, banking institution. A question from one of our public university.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Correct me if I'm wrong in terms of addressing your question. However, I think I look at it
please.
Of a digital bank per se. Obviously, when I talk, I think the main cost involvement is definitely in terms of the whole, in terms of the software development cost. Because when you build software for the digital bank, always there is involvement in terms of maintenance. maintaining it. And maintaining it depends
okay.
on the talents, the skill sets available. In fact, INFOPRO, we ourselves are struggling talents, good talents in terms of to be able to continue enhance the applications which what I mentioned, it needs to be customer centric in terms of the UI UX to be able to engage the consumers. Especially now you have these super apps that's coming in, which is incorporating lifestyle services. So you need skill to be able to build. A lot of this digital bank, when I mentioned one, I think some of it has been announced. Some of the participants or contenders that is going to submit the application for the digital bank in Malaysia, for instance, like Axiata Boost, for instance, like Touch and Go, and some of these, which is announced, Grab. So they have actually their own internal development team. That is cost, to be honest. Building up a team to be able to continuously enhance the customer experience in terms of apps, the front office, and be able to forefront in terms of technology by using microservices, by using some of these new technologies, AI. These are all costs, and talents are not easy. To get such talents are definitely, it's about cost, and definitely that is where I can see that the big potential of costs that will be incurred. In fact, traditional banks are building their own team as well, and that is a huge cost that they have invested. In fact, whether successful or not, they are trying that out to defense. Like what I mentioned just now, a lot of these traditional banks are defensing. In order to defense, they are attacking them by building their own team to be able to provide a lot of new digital applications, to be able to forefront in terms of the hybrid models, whereby digital solutions are part of the whole offerings to the consumers. So that is the major chunk of the cost, which is the resources part.
The resources part, particularly on the talent management. Okay, one more question I received. Since this digital banking relies excessively on the internet connectivity as per our session, and mobile phone or digital devices, this might also create a digital exclusion and maybe a kind of new social division, creating a different threat to society. So meaning there's a segmentation for the people who have or have not. Oh, this guy, maybe they're using smartphone, maybe very powerful, so they can do the banking. Or mine is only not so smartphone. So what's your opinion about this? I have no data plan. Oh, I need to get prepaid, postpaid, kind of that. Okay, please. Yeah, please. Okay.
Thanks, Prof, for such information, to be honest. But it involves definitely a lot of parties. One party is always going down from the government sectors. The government itself will need to ensure that they provide better in terms of allowing the telco players to be able to provide a very competitive pricing in terms of offering smartphones. Especially you can hear that they are bundling their services. Most of these telcos are bundling their services together with phones. In fact, they're giving away phones. With this 5G that is coming that will be available soon, 5G phones are getting cheaper. The costs are getting cheaper. With this bundling through these telco services, and telco services are rendering this to the publics, especially the people in Malaysia, the population in Malaysia. For those, especially the B40 group, lower income group in Malaysia, giving them the low cost of penetration costs for them to be able to afford some of these will be definitely helping a lot to drive the adoptions of these new technologies within the rural areas, especially those
Mm-hmm.
populations or those underbanked populations. Context. In fact, surprisingly, I'm quite happy that some of the state governments are offering free smartphones. In fact, 2 days ago, I read an article. Some governments, state governments are offering smartphones to the community, to the lower income group. I think that is actually a lot to drive the adoptions in Malaysia, especially in terms of the digital technologies. This obviously, once you have access to some of these devices, with COVID-19's lockdown, I myself, just take an example, will need to drive myself to go into mobile and internet banking because you're getting limited access, and especially when people are too not used to, because of the security of going into, usually going into the physical branches to do transaction. But because of the lockdowns by the government, you have no choice but to find means to do your banking transaction. So the only way is for you to adopt some of these new technologies. So the only way with the accessibility of access to this rural or so-called the B40 population, these are definitely going to drive them to also be able to use the smartphone that they have to do some of these services digitally. And with the government regulations and to bring down the cost by the telco players, this will definitely drive in the long run in terms of digitalization adoption in Malaysia.
I see. Thank you very much. Okay, one last question from the audience as well. How do you see the threats coming in terms of data breach or so on? Maybe in terms of cybersecurity, I think recently, early of maybe this year, there is one so-called claim, a kind of in Malaysia. There are loopholes in terms of cybersecurity. What's your opinion about that? This guy mentioned about we have a lot of loopholes, security, cyber. Your opinion from your perspective on that, maybe please share with us. Thank you.
I think digital security has always been a threat, but what I'm very happy with the government is that they are putting a lot of emphasis to cybersecurity in Malaysia, to emphasize on the needs to look into cybersecurity as part of the incorporations of business processes or software development processes in some of these firms. Definitely with this, and firms are putting emphasis to ensure that these are being taken as a key consideration to ensure that there's no data breach or security breach, especially the threats of hackers. I believe that firms should focus on as one part of it in terms of ISO certification or some certifications in terms of cybersecurity as part of their processes that's adopting to develop new software or solution. Incorporating that will definitely helps to ensure that they are certified. They have experts and they have the credential of certification for the cyber security to ensure that they comply in terms of this act. So that's where it is important for all these firms to look at this as a key criteria in order to do any solution or software development, especially to put forward or make sure that one part of the process is looking into getting a professional, cybersecurity professional, to endorse whatever solution or software that has been produced, to be able to ensure that there is definitely minimal threat, where I can't say no, but minimal threat in terms of their offering to the customers.
Yeah, Thank you very much, Kelly, for the last question from the audience. And it's almost time, but I have one last question before we recap and summarize.
For sure, Prof.
Okay, well, how do you see the future of digital banking in Malaysia within 5 years from now? 5 years from now, maybe to achieve our wawasan kemakmuran bersama 2030, or maybe by 2025, I would say, and now 2021. How do you see? We already, this is a bit of a recap as well. You are talking about all this digital technology, kind of AI, big data. Maybe what do you see the future, the vision of digital banking in Malaysia within 5 years? Please.
Thank you. I think in the longer run, or in the 5 years to come, what I foresee is that, well, globally, there is success, there is non-success as well, there's failures as well in terms of some of these digital startup banks. But with the push in terms of the industry revolution, 4.0 or maybe now 5.0 in some of these countries, there is definitely, in terms of the adoptions, there will be an advancement in terms of adoptions of these digital technologies. I foresee the future is bright for digital banks, especially when a lot of customers are looking into customer experience. Like what I said just now, a classical example, it takes me a while for me as a conservative person to adopt digital technologies. But with some of these, actually it brightens up and open up my thoughts about digitalization. When with this and accelerating my experience with this COVID-19, that these are part of the whole new norm. So digitalization has been part of the new norms. So digital banking services have definitely been part of the key driver for consumers to adopt such experience. You don't need to actually go to bank anymore. In future, everything is in a single touch through your smart mobile. With the advancement of smart mobile devices and 5G that's coming in, you can do it within your own couch at home to do banking services. So it's providing a conveniency to some of these consumers, and it's going to drive the cost down. Since, like what I mentioned just now, digital banks do not have any physical branches, so that has actually they will find means to make it more attractive in terms of their financial services offerings to some of these consumers, and they're going to put in a lot of emphasis on in terms of the marketing of their products, giving you a very lucrative that you won't be able to resist. In fact, and they also will help you to simplify and faster in terms of for those who are applying loan. For instance, Alibaba, they have always, for instance, and financial, they have always pushed in terms of 3 minutes loan kind of approval processing time with zero human bankers resources. So those they're going to simplify and make it faster for people to be able to do some of these banking transaction services. So I can foresee the future is definitely bright for this digital bank for the years to come. And with this new technology that's kept on advancing, this will for sure it's going to drive more of the people, especially now the B40. I think that is the whole target by the government to ensure that they are also not left out in terms of using the digital technologies, which I can foresee the next 5 years, there's much room to grow. And for these people to be able to adopt these new digital technologies. And it's going to be a new norm, or new norm in terms of doing services using digital technologies for years to come. For example, I like this quote, which is by actually Jack Ma. Jack Ma, as you know, the Alibaba founder. Today is founder, yeah. bad. Yeah, tomorrow is worse. But the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. So if companies do not adopt digital transformation, they are going to be left out. Okay, so those companies and firms, they should start forefronting some of these, moving towards the whole digital transformation journey, whereby this is going to simplify a lot of the whole consumers out there, or the customers or the public's population out there, which will soon will advance themselves into those digital technologies. But now I think the buzzword is about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of AIs going on. Machine learnings are slowly taking some of the whole processes away from some of the complexity of resources doing such processes. So these are the key. If we don't align ourselves, for sure we will be definitely left out in the future in terms of the advancement of the technology.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kelly, for the
Thank you, Prof.
Now we have come to the end of the session. Yeah, you're most welcome. We have come to the end of the session. We received a lot of ideas, insights, view, opinions as well. Thank you for the participant who posed the questions. For UKM staff or employee, don't forget to scan your the barcode for your SPEL, for the SPEL barcode to record your attendance. Again, Dr. Kelly, for your last word from Jack Ma. But in Malaysia, we every day is sunshine every day.
Yes.
So we need to keep up with the
obviously,
digital,
especially
kind of thing.
Prof, I think you heard about our government, right? Launching recently. That's also very interesting, especially Amazon, Microsoft. They're going to build data center, hyperscale data centers. That's advancement of technology.
Yes, great, wonderful about development of digital banking or digital technology in Malaysia. Dr. Kelly, thank you very much for your precious time spending with us, with our audience, add to live in our Facebook. Thanks a lot for our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Dr. Kelly for his time with us, as well as to yourself for being active participants in this program. Sorry for the 15-minute delay. There's a technical glitch, as I mentioned again.
No problem.
And I think all the best for everyone, and take care and stay tuned to our next session next month, and stay safe and stay healthy at home or maybe anywhere else. Bye and see you then. Okay, that's all from us in University of Malaysia. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Kelly.
Thank you again.
Take care.
Take care.